Hi guys, how y'all doing? It's Killer Shrew Fan here, ready to bring you yet another requested video review. Today's figure was requested by Maxine King. Thank you so much for that request. We love doing requested videos for you guys, and today is no exception. Maxine King, of course, requested we take a look at this guy, the Papo Carnotaurus, and we're actually really excited to do this video review today because for a few reasons. A, Carnotaurus is one of our favorite dinosaurs ever, not just favorite theropod, but favorite dinosaur, period. We just love Carnotaurus here. And B, this was actually my first dinosaur. Well, it wasn't my first dinosaur, but once I started collecting dinosaurs again, this was one of the first. This was my first Papo, and once I got this one, I had to start collecting. I had to get more because I opened the box and I was just in awe of how amazingly done this figure was. So this figure means a lot to me, so we're going to give you a closer look at it today, right here and right now on Killer Shrew Fans Killer Toy Reviews. Alright, without further ado, let's do this! So, starting off with the head as we usually do, as you can see, Papo have not skimped on their usual level of detail. I mean, just look at all of those varying scales of different sizes and shapes sculpted across the entire surface here. That is absolutely gorgeous on such a small surface area. Also, you can see you've got the classic dinosaur eye with the yellow iris and the black pupil, and just above that you've got the iconic horns of Carnotaurus jutting up against the forehead there. Just below the lower upper lip there, you can see you have got the teeth poking out, and the nasal area features a bunch of ridges and scoots, giving this thing a very rough appearance. As with many of Papo's carnivorous dinosaurs, this Papo Carnotaurus does have an articulated jaw which opens nice and smooth, revealing a nice, sleek, curled-up tongue on the inside, a nice fleshy cheek flap, and some more lovely teeth sculpted in the lower jaw. You've also got some lovely ridges going along the neck flap there, and here you can get a better look at the interior sculpted mouth there. The palate has been sculpted, and it's been given a nice glossy wet finish to really give it a lifelike feel. If my camera will focus here, let's see, come on. There, almost. You little devil. But anywho, you can get an idea. Just look at how deeply that is sculpted in there, just how far back that is carved out. And it's painted in a way that gives it a nice shadow, making this look like a deep gullet area that's ready to swallow you up. From the front, as you can see, this Carnotaurus does have a very thick skull, not characteristic of Carnotaurus at all. They did have a very deep skull, but not a very thick one. So, you know, Papo, never been the most scientifically accurate, but just look at that image. I mean, that is an amazing impression. That is so cool to see. I can forgive the lack of scientific accuracy on this particular model, because that is just a gorgeous picture right there. Going down the body, as you can see, you've got some lovely neck folds and wrinkles adorned with more absolutely tiny scales. You can also see you've got some spines running along the back and some lovely scoots adorning the neck, and it's got about 3 rows here once you get to the midsection, and they continue all the way down the body. You've got a nice powerful looking thigh there, and lovely scales covering the entire thing, some lovely bunching up and folding of skin just behind the thigh, and if we continue all the way up, you can see that the scale sizes do continue to vary in shape and in size alike, and we go all the way up to the tip of the extended and arched tail to see that the spines do continue along with the scoots, and the scaling also continues all the way to the tip. Papo did not leave a single area of this thing unattended to. Going back down the opposite side, as you can see, it's a very similar story with all of the individual scales, the rows of scoots starting from the tail and then breaking into 2 rows once you get to the base of the tail, and then 3 rows at the thigh. And you can also see the scaling does continue. Once you get up to the shoulder area, you can see that scapula pressing up against the skin, and we come up back to that beautiful Carnotaurus head. This is simply a wonderfully sculpted figure. Here you can get a better look at those absolutely tiny, dinky Carnotaurus arms. I would go so far as to say they could stand to be even smaller. So the next time you're thinking of making fun of T-Rex for tiny arms, just remember Carnotaurus. There you can see that he has got the For sculpted fingers, they have been painted a nice sleek black, not really weathered, which is unfortunate, but they are such a small surface area, I can forgive it. The toes, on the other hand, as you can see, have been weathered in a nice way, and you've got some lovely plate scaling, and when you go up the leg, you can see a nice, powerful looking calf there, joining up with that powerful looking thigh, which we did see when we were taking a look at the body itself. The other side is really the same story with how well sculpted the musculature is, but just look at how they sculpted that foot. The toes are splayed in a way to make it look like it is supporting the weight of this creature as it pushes off the ground, propelling itself forward. It is just such an active movement that they captured in this sculpture, and the way that they sculpted the tensing muscles really adds to that experience. The underbelly, as you can see, is sculpted with an equal level of detail. You also got the pads of the feet sculpted there, with scales even, and on the inner thigh there you can see Papo 2013 made in China. And the scaling does continue all the way up to the neck. You've got some lovely pectoral muscles gathering right at those stubby arms, and there you can see the lower jaw muscles have also been sculpted, and you get a better idea of those spines on the throat area. Now, for those of you with a keen eye, you may have noticed that this Carnotaurus looks almost identical to the ones featured in Disney's Dinosaur, but in sculpture only. As you can see, it is an incredibly active sculpture with its head facing downwards, and its legs working to propel the creature forward, and its tail held straight back for counterbalance. I absolutely adore the pose on this Carnotaurus. It is just so incredibly fluid and lifelike, and Papo did an amazing job. It's almost like they captured a picture, a still life of this creature in action, perhaps pursuing a prey item, and you especially get that vibe with the mouth open. Now, you do recall I did say that this creature resembled the Disney Carnotaurus, but in sculpture only, because that one was red. This one, its paint job is more earthy tones. You've got greens, mostly greens, adorning the entire surface, and then you've got darker browns for stripes. You've got a nice sort of creamy underbelly area, and then you've got some really dark browns, maybe even blacks used to dry brush over some areas, particularly on the face there where you've got those nose spine ridges things to give it a nice rough looking face. They did dry brush some black in there, and there on the underbelly you can see it too, just to really give this, just to really make all of that detail that they sculpted in pop, and pop it does. This does have a glossy finish, which I don't much care for, but that's really my only grievance with the paint job on this Carnotaurus. Now, this was my first Papo figure, and I was a little underwhelmed for the size, but just how big is it? Well, we're going to go ahead and bring in our trusty dusty canvas ruler here and find out for you. But yeah, I mean, it was much smaller than I anticipated, but I'll tell you why that's okay here in a second. So from the nose all the way to the tip of the tail, here, you know what, I'm going to do it this way. This might be a little easier on us. From the nose all the way to the tip of the tail, you're looking at right around 7 inches long, and from the base all the way to the highest point, if I don't knock him over here, come on, you're okay. And from the base all the way to the highest point, you're looking at right around 4 inches off the ground. So yes, much smaller than I anticipated, but the reason I'm okay with it is because they still managed to cram such lifelike details into such a small model, and that is definitely a win in my book, and I was just blown away by how much they managed to do. For size comparison, we're going to go ahead and bring in some more Carnotaurus figures for you, and we're going to go ahead and start off with the very goofy, much outdated Carnegie Carnotaurus figure. As you can see, these guys are actually pretty similar in size, but definitely not in style. Oops! Why can I never do this without knocking these things over? Come on. There you go. There you can get an idea of the size to expect. This Carnegie model is very popular and easy to find, so if you have that one in your collection, hopefully it gives you an idea of what to expect from the Papo version. Next up, we're going to go ahead and bring in my humblest of opinions, the best Carnotaurus toy ever made, and that is, of course, the newer Carnegie Carnotaurus. And I mean, you can just see the two different styles here. I think Papo's got them licked on detail, but the paint job, the bold colorations on that Carnotaurus from Carnegie are just incredible. It's not to scale, but hopefully you get an idea. Now remember me saying it looked like the Disney Carnotaurus? Well, I'm going to bring in the one that really does look like the Disney Carnotaurus in paint anyway. Maybe not so much in sculpt, but this is of course the Schleich Carnotaurus, a nice red Carnotaurus, very similar to the ones in Disney Dinosaur, but not so much. Sculpture-wise, I think the Papo one is closer to that in that department, but if you have that one, hopefully you can get an idea of the scale to expect from this Papo Carnotaurus. Well, everyone, that's going to do it for our look at the Papo Carnotaurus figure. Overall, this figure is just awesome. It really is awesome. And Carnotaurus being one of my favorite dinosaurs, it's so cool to see such an active and cool and eye-catching figure done of this species. All things considered, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.5 out of 10. It is smaller than expected. I don't much care for the glossy finish, and it's not too horribly accurate, which doesn't bother me. Might bother some people, but yeah, I don't think it's deserving of that perfect score or a little higher score. But as always, I want to know what you guys think of this model. Do you own it? Do you love it? Are you gonna try and get it now? Or do you not like it? If so, why not? What's your favorite version of the Carnotaurus in toy form? Yeah, shout all of your comments out down in the section below. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this guy. It is a very interesting figure, so I'd like to have some interesting discussion on it. Also, if you want us to take a look at any particular dinosaur figure, don't be afraid to leave a comment. We'd be happy to do that for you. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. It means a lot to us. If you enjoyed today's video, don't be afraid to let us know by hitting that like button. And also, don't forget to subscribe on your way out so you don't miss any of our future reviews. As always, we will see you in the next one. Thanks so much again, and bye-bye.